Hey everyone, welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today into something I'm sure you're all super curious about, Machiavellian types.
Ooh.
And how to deal with them.
Yeah.
We're going to be dissecting a book called 52 Psychologia Oscura,
Okay.
which translates to 52 Dark Psychology.
Interesting.
And it's packed with all these insights on power, persuasion,
Mm-hmm.
even manipulation.
Yeah.
Want to know how to spot these individuals, understand their tactics, and not become their pawn.
I'm in.
Let's get started.
Let's do it.
All right, so the book jumps right in and it defines what Machiavellian power really is.
Okay.
And it's not just about being assertive or ambitious.
Right.
It's a whole
It's a different
ballgame.
Ballgame, yeah.
Yeah, so not just someone who likes to take charge.
Right.
What makes it so different?
So think of it this way. Someone with ethical leadership inspires and empowers others.
Okay.
A Machiavellian individual prioritizes their personal gain above everything and everyone else.
Wow.
They often lack empathy and see people as tools for their own advancement. It's a very calculated approach to power.
Okay, so it's less about leading and more about
Using people to get ahead.
using people to get ahead. And the book gives some pretty chilling historical examples, right?
Yes, figures like Julius Caesar and Louis XI of France.
Wow.
Both brilliant strategists, but also known for their ruthlessness. They embody those Machiavellian traits the book describes.
It's almost scary how some of these figures are lauded in history.
Yeah.
Yet they were playing by such a different set of rules.
Right.
So this isn't just ancient history, right?
No, no, no.
Are you saying these types of individuals exist today?
Absolutely, and that's the really unsettling part.
Like what?
They're not just historical figures, they're in our modern world.
Really?
Possibly even in your workplace or social circles.
Wait, hold on. The book talks about toxic bosses, manipulative coworkers, even politicians using these tactics.
Absolutely.
I mean, how do you even spot someone like that?
Well, that's where things are tricky.
Okay.
Machiavellians are often masters at blending in.
Right.
They can appear charming and charismatic,
Okay.
making it harder to detect their true intentions.
So we need to know what to look for.
Yes.
The book lays out 8
Specific.
specific Machiavellian hallmarks, right?
Yes, and they paint a pretty clear picture of this personality type.
Hit me with the first one. Let's see what we're dealing with here.
Number 1, falsehood.
Okay.
They're comfortable with deception, even outright lying, if it serves their purpose.
Right off the bat, we're talking about dishonesty.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you wonder how anyone could trust someone like that.
Yes.
What's next on the list?
Cunning.
Okay.
They're strategic thinkers, always planning several steps ahead and able to manipulate situations to their advantage.
Okay, so they're not just liars.
Right.
They're clever liars.
Yes.
This is starting to sound like a recipe for disaster.
It is.
Keep going.
And it doesn't stop there.
Okay.
Number 3 is narcissism. They have an inflated sense of self-importance and a deep need for admiration.
So it's all about them.
Yes.
All the time, I'm guessing empathy isn't really their strong suit then.
You're catching on quickly.
Okay, good.
Number 4 is a lack of remorse or guilt, even when their actions harm others.
Wow, that's pretty chilling.
Yeah.
So they can hurt people without a second thought.
And it gets worse.
Okay.
Number 5 is a desire to exploit others for personal gain, seeing people as pawns in their game.
This is starting to feel like a villain's origin story.
Right.
I mean, is there anything redeemable about these Machiavellian traits?
Well, let's keep going through the list.
Okay.
Number 6, a lack of morality and disregard for ethical principles.
Uh-oh.
The rules simply don't apply to them.
Okay, so we could throw the rule book out the window.
Pretty much.
Is there anything left on this list?
2 more?
All right.
Number 7, a relentless focus on personal gain, always seeking to maximize their own power and advantage.
So it's all about winning no matter the cost.
Yes.
It's almost like they're playing a different game entirely.
Right.
Yeah, this is heavy stuff.
It is.
All right, what's that last one?
Which leads us to the final hallmark, a cynical view of human nature, believing that people are inherently selfish and easily manipulated.
Wow, that's a pretty bleak outlook on humanity.
It is.
So basically, they see everyone as potential prey?
Yes.
It's almost like they're living in a dog-eat-dog world where only the strong survive.
Exactly.
This is heavy stuff.
It is, and what's fascinating is how these traits, while troubling, actually contribute to their effectiveness.
Okay.
They're like pieces of a puzzle fitting together to create this persona that's both dangerous and strangely compelling.
Okay, so we've got a pretty good grasp of who these Machiavellians are.
Right.
But I think what everyone really wants to know is,
How do they operate?
how do they operate?
Yes.
What are their tactics,
Yeah.
their strategies for getting what they want?
That's a great question, and the book really delves into their manipulation playbook.
Okay.
But before we get into the specifics,
Okay.
I think it's important to understand one of the core principles that drives their actions, the idea that the ends justify the means.
I've definitely heard that phrase before, but to be honest, I never really thought about what it actually means in practice.
Well, for a Machiavellian, it means they can act ruthlessly,
Okay.
even unethically,
Huh?
as long as they achieve their desired outcome.
Oh, wow.
The ends, meaning their goals, justify any means necessary to get there.
So they're basically saying that anything goes,
Pretty much.
as long as they win.
Yes.
It's a complete disregard for the rules or even the well-being of others.
Exactly.
Have you ever encountered someone who operates this way?
I can't say that I have personally, but I've certainly read about them.
It's a chilly thought, isn't it?
It is, and it's one of the most dangerous aspects of Machiavellianism.
Yeah.
Because when you believe that any action is justifiable if it leads to your desired goal, you're essentially removing any moral or ethical constraints on your behavior.
That's a recipe for disaster.
It is.
So knowing this about them,
Yeah.
how do they actually manipulate people?
Right.
What are some of the tactics they use?
They have a whole arsenal of techniques.
Okay.
But one that stands out is their ability to exploit our need for recognition.
Okay. That makes sense. We all want to feel valued and appreciated.
Yes.
But how do they twist that into a manipulation tactic?
It's subtle, really.
Okay.
They might shower you with compliments, make you feel like you're the only one who truly understands them, or offer you opportunities that seem tailor-made for your ambitions.
So they're playing on our egos,
Exactly.
making us feel special so we let our guard down.
Exactly. And once you're hooked, they can start pulling the strings. They might manipulate you into doing things you wouldn't normally do, all in the name of recognition or advancement.
That's devious. The book even has a historical example of this, right?
Yes.
Something about Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla.
Yes, as the story goes, Edison hired Tesla, who was a brilliant inventor, and promised him a huge bonus if he could improve the design of Edison's DC dynamos.
Uh-huh.
Tesla being the genius he was delivered.
Right.
But Edison, true to his Machiavellian nature, went back on his word, claiming it was all a joke.
Wait, seriously?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, so Edison took advantage of Tesla's brilliance and then just brushed him off.
It appears so.
That's just wrong.
It highlights how someone with Machiavellian tendencies can exploit even the brightest minds.
Okay, this is starting to feel a little too real. If these manipulators are all around us, how are we supposed to protect ourselves?
Right.
Is there even a way to see through their charades?
There is, but it requires awareness and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Okay.
The book dives into 8 laws of human conduct that Machiavellians exploit to their advantage.
Okay.
Understanding these laws can be a real game changer.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's unpack these laws. What's the first one?
The first law revolves around our innate need for recognition and how easily we accept it.
Okay.
Even when we haven't truly earned it.
Mm-hmm.
It's that desire to feel valued, to have our contributions acknowledged.
I can definitely relate to that. Who doesn't like a pat on the back for a job well done?
Right.
But you're saying Machiavellians twist this into a weapon?
Think about it. Have you ever seen someone take credit for work they barely contributed to, yet batten in the praise? Or those who constantly seek validation, even if their achievements are questionable?
Okay, yeah, I've definitely worked with people like that. They
Right.
crave the spotlight, even if they don't deserve it.
Yes.
But how does this play into the hands of a Machiavellian?
They exploit this vulnerability by offering that recognition, that sense of importance as a means of control. It's like they're giving you a taste of what you crave,
Okay.
just enough to keep you hooked.
So they're basically dangling a carrot in front of us.
Exactly.
Make us jump through hoops for a little bit of praise.
Exactly. And that's why building a strong sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on external validation is so crucial.
Okay.
It's about recognizing your own value regardless of whether others acknowledge it.
That's good advice. Know your worth. Don't let someone else define it for you.
Exactly.
Okay, what's the next law we need to watch out for?
The second law is about our motivation to act in our self-interest, even when we claim to be doing things for others.
Uh-huh.
It suggests that even seemingly altruistic acts often have underlying personal motives.
So you're saying we're all a little bit selfish deep down.
It's not necessarily about being intentionally selfish, but rather acknowledging that our actions are often influenced by a desire to benefit ourselves in some way.
Okay.
Even if it's just a feeling of satisfaction or social approval.
Okay, I could see how that could be twisted by someone with manipulative tendencies.
Yes.
They could frame their requests in a way that makes us think we're acting in our own best interest.
Right.
When we're actually doing their bidding.
Exactly. They might say things like, this will be great for your career, or you'll be helping so many people by doing this, when their true motive is to benefit themselves.
It's like they're playing a mind game, making us believe we're in control when we're actually being manipulated.
Exactly.
How do we avoid falling into that trap?
The key is to be honest with yourself about your motivations. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Who benefits from my actions? And don't be afraid to question your own motives. Are you doing this out of genuine altruism, or because you're hoping to gain something from it.
So a little self-reflection can go a long way in protecting ourselves from manipulation.
Absolutely. Now, law number 3 delves into the challenge of changing people's minds even when presented with irrefutable evidence.
Oh, we all have that friend or family member who just won't budge on certain issues.
Right.
No matter how much logic you throw at them.
Exactly.
It can be infuriating.
It's because we humans tend to cling to our beliefs even when they're demonstrably false.
Yeah.
It's a psychological phenomenon known as cognitive dissonance, and it's something Machiavellians understand and exploit.
So instead of trying to change their minds, what's the best approach?
The book suggests focusing on appealing to their emotions and self-interest rather than their logic.
Okay.
Find common ground, highlight shared goals, and frame your arguments in a way that resonates with their existing beliefs.
It's almost like speaking a different language, one that resonates with their emotional core rather than their intellectual mind.
Precisely. Now let's talk about the 4th law, which is the human need to feel like we have control over our lives.
Oh, this is a big one.
It is.
I mean, we all want to believe we're calling the shots.
Right.
But let's be honest, life throws us curveballs all the time.
Exactly. And Machiavellians are experts at exploiting this illusion of control.
Okay.
They'll present limited choices, subtly steer you towards a particular decision,
Uh-huh.
all while making you feel like you're the one making the call.
So they're puppeteers pulling the strings without us even realizing it.
It's like they're saying choose A or B, but they've already rigged the game so that either choice leads to their desired outcome.
Okay, that's just sneaky. How do we reclaim our sense of control in a world where people are constantly trying to manipulate us?
The key is to be aware of the ways in which your choices are being influenced.
Okay.
Question your assumptions, look beyond the surface, and don't be afraid to challenge the options presented to you. Are those truly the only choices available, or are there other possibilities you haven't considered?
So it's about thinking outside the box and not letting them limit our options.
Exactly.
Got it. What's the next law on this list?
Law number 5 focuses on our inherent desire to belong to something larger than ourselves.
Okay.
Whether it's a family, a social group, a political party, or even a brand, we crave that sense of connection and community.
Oh yeah, that's a powerful motivator. We're social creatures after all.
We are.
But how do Machiavellians exploit this need?
They understand the power of belonging and use it to build a following, create an uses versus them mentality, and manipulate group dynamics to their advantage.
So they're essentially creating a tribe, a group of loyal followers who are willing to do their bidding.
Yes.
That sounds a lot like cult behavior.
It can definitely have those elements, and that's why it's so important to maintain your individuality and critical thinking skills even when you're part of a group. Don't be afraid to question the group's beliefs or challenge authority.
That's a tough one, especially when you're surrounded by people who share the same beliefs.
It is.
But you're saying it's crucial to think for ourselves and not blindly follow the crowd.
Absolutely. Now let's discuss law number 6.
Okay.
Which delves into the power of the word because.
Because why? What's so special about that word?
The book describes a fascinating psychological experiment
Okay.
where researchers found that people were far more likely to comply with a request when given a reason,
Okay.
even if that reason was flimsy or illogical.
You're kidding. So just by adding the word because to a request,
It seems so.
you increase your chances of getting a yes.
It seems that our brains are wired to seek justification for actions and requests.
Interesting.
When we hear the word because, it triggers a sense of logic and reason, even if the reason provided doesn't make much sense.
So Machiavellians are basically hacking our brains with a simple word.
In a way, yes. They'll sprinkle their requests with becauses,
Yeah.
even if the reasons they give are irrelevant or fabricated.
Wow.
It's a way of short-circuiting our critical thinking and getting us to comply without putting up too much resistance.
Okay, so how do we counter this sneaky tactic?
Train yourself to pause and critically evaluate the reason given.
Okay.
Regardless of whether the word because is used,
Uh-huh.
ask yourself, does this reason actually make sense? Is it logical? Or am I being manipulated?
So it's like adding a mental filter, questioning the why behind every request.
Exactly.
Got it. Now, what's next on this list of laws?
Law number 7 taps into our inherent desire to be treated as special or unique.
Okay.
We all want to feel important, valued,
Mm-hmm.
and like we stand out from the crowd.
That's definitely true. We all have that little voice inside us that wants to be recognized for our unique talents and qualities.
Yes.
But how do Machiavellians exploit this?
They're masters at playing to that desire.
Okay.
They'll shower you with compliments, make you feel like you're the only one who truly understands them,
Uh-huh.
all to gain your trust and loyalty.
So it's like they're creating a custom-tailored manipulation strategy just for you.
Exactly. They'll observe your behavior, identify your insecurities and desires,
Wow.
and then craft their approach to perfectly exploit those vulnerabilities.
It's almost flattering in a way, like they've taken the time to really understand us.
Right.
But in reality, they're just using that information to manipulate us, aren't they?
Precisely, and that's why it's crucial to recognize these tactics for what they are: manipulation.
Right.
Don't let flattery cloud your judgment or compromise your values. Remember, if someone is going overboard with the praise, they probably want something from you.
Okay, so a healthy dose of skepticism is key.
Yes.
Don't let their charm blind you to their true intentions.
Exactly.
What's the final law we need to be aware of?
Law number 8 focuses on a rather unsettling fact.
Okay.
People rarely change their minds even when proven wrong.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that. I've had arguments with friends and family where I know I'm right,
Right.
but they just won't budge.
Exactly.
It's like they're digging their heels in, even when faced with facts.
It's that cognitive dissonance at play again.
Yeah.
We tend to cling to our beliefs even when confronted with contradictory evidence. Because changing our minds can be emotionally challenging.
So if people rarely change their minds,
Yeah.
how do we even deal with Machiavellians?
Right.
Is it even possible to reason with them?
That's a tough one. The book suggests that in these situations, it's more about protecting yourself than trying to change their mind.
Okay.
Accept that they are who they are and focus on minimizing their impact on your life.
So damage control rather than trying to fix them.
Exactly.
So realizing you can't change a toxic person, but you can control how much access they have to your life.
Precisely.
That's good.
Now, in the next chapter, the book dives into various techniques of predatory manipulation.
Oh, this sounds intense.
It is.
What kind of tactics are we talking about here?
Well, one of the first tactics they discuss is lying.
No surprise there. Machiavellians are notorious for their deception.
They are.
But what makes their lies so different from any other kind of lie?
It's their chronic nature and the intention behind the lie.
Okay.
Predatory manipulators will twist the truth, fabricate stories, and weave elaborate webs of deception to confuse and control their victims. They lie to gain power,
Okay.
to avoid accountability, and to manipulate perceptions.
It's like they're living in an alternate reality where truth is whatever they say it is.
And the scary part is they're often so convincing
Wow.
that their victims start to doubt their own perceptions and memories.
Yeah.
It's a form of gaslighting that can be incredibly damaging.
Gaslighting, that's where they make you question your own sanity. So they're not just lying, they're making you doubt your own reality.
Yes.
How do we protect ourselves from that?
It takes a lot of mental fortitude.
Yeah.
But the book suggests paying close attention to inconsistencies in their stories, documenting their lies if possible, and trusting your gut. If something feels off or doesn't add up, it probably isn't.
So it's like taking a detective, looking for clues, and not letting them manipulate you with their fabricated reality.
Exactly. Another common tactic they use is withholding information.
Okay.
They'll selectively reveal or conceal information to keep you off balance and maintain control.
So it's like they're playing a game of chess, and you're always a few moves behind.
All right.
They know all the pieces while you're left guessing.
Exactly. They'll give you just enough information to keep you engaged,
Okay.
but never the full picture, leaving you constantly seeking their approval and guidance.
Okay, so they keep us in the dark,
Right.
dangling bits of information to keep us hooked.
Yes.
How do we break free from that?
The book stresses the importance of asking direct questions, demanding clarity, and not settling for vague answers. If they're evasive or refuse to provide concrete information, that's a red flag.
So don't be afraid to push back and demand answers.
Exactly.
Got it. What else do they do?
Another tactic is emotional volatility.
Okay.
They're known for their unpredictable mood swings and dramatic outbursts. One minute they're charming and affectionate, the next they're cold and angry,
Wow.
leaving you confused and walking on eggshells.
It's like they're trying to keep you off balance so you never know what to expect.
Right.
You're constantly trying to please them, afraid of setting them off.
Exactly. These emotional roller coasters are designed to keep you emotionally invested and dependent on their approval.
This is starting to sound emotionally exhausting.
It can be.
How are we supposed to deal with someone who's constantly playing with our emotions?
The key is to not engage with their emotional outbursts.
Okay.
Set clear boundaries and refuse to be drawn into their drama.
Uh-huh.
Remember, their emotional volatility is a tool for manipulation, not a reflection of your worth.
So detach emotionally and don't let their moods dictate your own well-being.
Exactly.
Easier said than done, I imagine.
It is
But I get the concept.
good.
What other manipulative tactics do they use?
One that's particularly insidious is a combination of love bombing and devaluation.
Ooh, I've heard of love bombings, like they shower you with affection and attention, right?
Yes.
But what's this devaluation part?
That's the dark side of the coin.
Okay.
Once they've hooked you with the love bombing, they abruptly shift gears and start criticizing, belittling, and withdrawing their affection.
So it's like a 1-2 punch.
Yes.
They build you up just to tear you down.
Exactly. It leaves the victim feeling confused and desperate to regain that initial approval.
Wow.
It's a classic push and pull tactic designed to erode your self-esteem and make you more susceptible to control.
That sounds incredibly damaging. How do you even begin to break free from something like that?
The book emphasizes recognizing the pattern for what it is: manipulation.
Okay.
Don't fall for the illusion of the perfect romance or the grand gestures.
Right.
Pay attention to how they treat you consistently, not just during the love bombing phase. And most importantly, trust your gut.
Okay.
If something feels off, it probably is.
Okay, so trust your instincts. Don't let yourself get swept up in the romance of it all. What other tactics do we need to watch out for?
Punishment.
Okay.
It's a more straightforward tactic, but no less effective.
Okay.
Predatory manipulators use punishment to control their victims through fear and intimidation.
That sounds harsh. What kind of punishment are we talking about?
It can range from threats and isolation to verbal and even physical abuse.
Okay.
The key is that it's used to assert dominance and make the victim afraid to challenge their authority.
This is getting pretty dark. It sounds like we're talking about abusive behavior.
Absolutely, and the book stresses that no one deserves to be treated this way.
Yeah.
If you're experiencing any form of abuse, reach out for help. There are resources available to support you and guide you to safety.
Okay, let's hope we don't encounter anyone who resorts to those tactics. What else is in their playbook?
Denial. Even when confronted with undeniable evidence of their wrongdoing. They'll deny, deny, deny.
It's like they're living in a world where their actions have no consequences.
Right.
They just refuse to take responsibility.
They'll gaslight their victims, twist the truth, and blame others to avoid facing the consequences of their behavior.
So how do we deal with someone who's living in a state of perpetual denial?
The book suggests focusing on protecting yourself rather than trying to convince them to admit fault.
Okay.
Document their actions, set clear boundaries, and remove yourself from the situation if possible.
So it's about recognizing that you can't change their behavior, but you control your own response.
Exactly.
Got it. What other tactics do they use?
Another one is inverting reality.
Okay.
They're skilled at twisting the truth to fit their own narrative. They'll present themselves as the victim, blame others for their actions, and rewrite history to make themselves appear innocent.
So they're basically rewriting the script.
Yes.
Making themselves the hero and everyone else the villain.
Exactly. And this tactic can be incredibly effective because it plays on our empathy.
Right.
We naturally want to believe the person who seems most vulnerable or wronged.
So how do we protect ourselves from being manipulated by their sob story?
The key is to be skeptical of their stories, look for inconsistencies, and gather evidence to support your own version of events. Don't let them manipulate you with their twisted narratives.
So it's about being an objective observer and not letting their emotional appeals cloud your judgment.
Exactly. What else do they do?
What else?
They often use a tactic called minimizing.
Okay.
So they'll downplay their actions, making them seem less significant or harmful than they truly are.
So they're trying to sweep their bad behavior under the rug, make it seem like no big deal.
Exactly. They'll use phrases like, "it was just a joke," or "you're overreacting," to dismiss your concerns and avoid taking responsibility.
It's like they're trying to gaslight us into believing that our feelings are invalid.
Exactly. And that's why it's crucial to trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't let them minimize their actions or make you question your own perceptions.
So stand your ground and don't let them invalidate your experiences.
Exactly. What else do they do?
What else?
They often resort to blaming, shifting responsibility for their own actions and emotions onto their victims.
It's the classic, "you made me do this" routine.
Right.
They never want to take ownership of their own behavior.
Exactly. They'll use phrases like, "you made me angry," or "if you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have reacted this way," to deflect responsibility and make their victims feel guilty.
It's a way of perpetuating the cycle of abuse and keeping their victims feeling trapped.
And the book emphasizes that no one is responsible for another person's actions or emotions.
Right.
We are each responsible for our own behavior, and no amount of manipulation should make you feel otherwise.
So don't let them guilt trip you into taking the blame for their bad behavior.
Exactly.
It's not your fault. What else do they do?
Flattery.
Okay.
They're masters at using flattery to gain their victims' trust and lower their defenses.
Oh, flattery can be so seductive, especially when it comes from someone we admire or respect.
Exactly. They'll shower you with compliments, praise your accomplishments, and
Uh,
make you feel special and admired.
right.
It's all part of their strategy to create a halo effect where their charming demeanor masks their manipulative intentions.
So how do we protect ourselves from being swayed by their charm?
Be wary of excessive flattery, especially if it seems insincere or if it's coming from someone you don't know well.
Okay.
Remember, their charm is a tool for manipulation, not a reflection of their genuine feelings.
Okay, so don't let their charm fool you. Always look beyond the surface and consider their motives. What else do they do?
Aggression.
Okay.
They often use aggression, whether verbal, emotional, or physical, to intimidate their victims and force them into submission.
This is definitely crossing a line. Aggression is never okay, no matter what the excuse is.
The book emphasizes that any form of aggression is unacceptable.
Yeah.
If you're experiencing abuse, reach out for help. You don't have to endure this alone.
That's such an important message. No one deserves to be treated with aggression or disrespect.
I agree.
What else should we be aware of?
They also use isolation as a way to control their victims.
Isolation? What do you mean by that?
They'll try to isolate their victims from their support systems,
Oh.
making them more dependent on the manipulator and less likely to seek help. Making them more dependent on the manipulator and less likely to seek help, they might discourage their victims from seeing friends and family, sabotage their relationships, or control their access to communication.
It's like they're trying to cut off their victim's lifeline to the outside world, making them completely reliant on the manipulator.
Exactly, and the book stresses that this isolation is a red flag. If someone is trying to control who you see and talk to, that's a sign of a toxic and potentially abusive relationship.
So how do we break free from this isolation? It sounds incredibly difficult.
It takes courage, but the book suggests reaching out to your support system, even if it's difficult. Reconnect with friends and family, seek professional help, and don't let the manipulator control your connections to the outside world. It's about reclaiming your independence and rebuilding your support network outside of the manipulative relationship.
Okay, so reach out for help and don't let them isolate you. What else is in their bag of tricks?
Now, in the final chapter of the book, we shift gears a bit and delve into the world of charismatic manipulators, those individuals who possess a certain charm and magnetism that draws people in.
Oh, this sounds fascinating. Tell me more about these charismatic manipulators. What makes them so different from the other types of manipulators we've discussed?
They're masters at persuasion. They exude confidence, charm, and a captivating energy that makes people want to follow them.
Think about those charismatic cult leaders or even those social media influencers who amass huge followings.
Right.
They have this magnetic pull that makes people want to be a part of their world.
Exactly.
But you're saying there's a dark side to this charisma.
Absolutely. Behind that charm often lies a manipulative agenda. They use their charm and influence to exploit others, gain power, and achieve their own goals, often at the expense of their followers.
So how do we distinguish between genuine charisma and manipulative charm? Is there a way to tell the difference?
The book outlines 4 key tactics that charismatic manipulators often employ.
Okay.
The first is deceiving people about their resources.
What does that mean? Are they pretending to be richer than they are?
It's more about exaggerating their accomplishments, inflating their credentials, and making themselves appear more successful or powerful than they truly are. It's about creating an illusion of competence and authority to gain trust and influence.
So they're basically building a facade of success to mask their true intentions.
Exactly, and the book gives a fascinating example of this with a hypothetical political candidate.
Okay, I love a good political example. Tell me more.
Imagine a politician campaigning on a platform of economic revitalization.
Okay.
They make grand promises about creating jobs, boosting the economy, and improving people's lives. But they're vague on the specifics, avoiding concrete details about how they plan to achieve these goals.
So they're creating a sense of hope and optimism without providing any substance or evidence to support their claims.
Exactly. They're selling a dream, not a concrete plan.
It's like they're masters of illusion, feeding a dazzling spectacle to distract from the lack of substance behind their promises.
And the book emphasizes that this tactic of deception about resources is often used in conjunction with other manipulative tactics, such as creating fear and promoting a sense of urgency.
Okay, so they're pulling out all the stops to get people on board with their agenda.
Yes.
What's the second tactic they use?
The second tactic is deceiving people about their strategy.
Okay.
They create an aura of mystery and intrigue around their plans.
Okay.
They'll be vague about their method, keep their true intentions hidden, and use ambiguous language to avoid revealing too much information.
So it's like they're playing a game of smoke and mirrors, making it difficult to decipher their true motives.
Exactly, and this tactic can be incredibly effective because it piques people's curiosity and makes them want to learn more.
It's like they're dangling a carrot, enticing people to follow them down the rabbit hole without ever fully revealing what lies at the end.
The book points out that this tactic of deception about strategy is often used to manipulate people into supporting a cause or movement without fully understanding the implications.
So it's about creating a sense of blind faith where people are following the leader without questioning their motives or the potential consequences.
Precisely. Now, let's talk about the third tactic, using fear to gain support.
Oh, fear is a powerful motivator. I can see how that could easily be exploited.
Charismatic manipulators are masters at exploiting people's fears and insecurities to gain support for their agenda.
Right.
They'll create a sense of urgency, exaggerate threats, and paint a bleak picture of the future if their demands aren't met.
It's like they're tapping into our primal instincts, triggering our fight-or-flight response and making us more susceptible to their influence.
Exactly. The book gives a fascinating example of this with Donald Trump's proposal to build a wall between the United States and Mexico.
Oh, that's a perfect example. Tell me more.
Trump effectively tapped into people's fears about immigration and national security, painting a picture of a country under siege by dangerous outsiders. He created a sense of urgency, arguing that the wall was essential to protect America from these perceived threats.
So he was playing on people's anxieties, making them feel like they needed to take drastic action to protect themselves and their way of life.
Precisely, and this tactic of fear-mongering can be incredibly effective because it bypasses rational thought and triggers an emotional response.
Right.
People are more likely to support their agenda out of fear rather than logic.
So it's all about pushing those emotional buttons and creating a sense of panic. What's the fourth tactic they use?
The fourth tactic is recognizing that deception is a tool, not a plan.
What do you mean by that?
Charismatic manipulators use deception to achieve their objectives, but they're always thinking several steps ahead. They see deception as a means to an end, not the ultimate goal. It's about understanding that their deception is always in service of a larger agenda.
So they're not just trying to pull the wool over our eyes.
No.
They're using deception to achieve a specific goal.
Yes.
It's all very calculated.
Exactly, and the book gives a fascinating example of this with the Allied invasion of Normandy during World War II.
Oh, that's a great example. Tell me more.
The Allies used an elaborate system of deception codenamed Operation Fortitude to mislead the Germans about the location and timing of the invasion. They created dummy armies, fake radio transmissions, and even planted false intelligence to convince the Germans that the invasion would take place at Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy.
So they were essentially creating a false reality to manipulate the Germans into making strategic.
Exactly. They were essentially creating a false reality to manipulate the Germans into making strategic errors.
Wow, that's incredible. So they used deception as a strategic tool to achieve a larger military objective. That's pretty mind-blowing.
And the book highlights that charismatic manipulators often use deception in a similar way, though on a smaller scale.
Okay.
They create elaborate lies, fabricate stories, and manipulate perceptions to achieve their objectives, but their deception is always in service of a larger plan.
It's like they're playing chess, always thinking several moves ahead.
Yes.
So how do we avoid getting caught in their web of deception? How do we protect ourselves from these master manipulators?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And while there's no foolproof method, the book offers some valuable insights.
Okay.
First and foremost, it emphasizes the importance of self-awareness.
Okay.
Know your values, what's important to you, so you're less likely to be swayed by emotional appeals that don't align with them.
It's like having a built-in BS detector.
Exactly.
If something feels off or doesn't sit right with your core values, that's a red flag.
Exactly, and don't be afraid to question everything. Don't take statements at face value. Ask why and demand clear, logical answers.
So don't just accept what they're telling you.
Right.
Dig deeper, ask for evidence, and challenge their assumptions.
Precisely, and perhaps most importantly, trust your gut.
Okay.
If something feels off or someone seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Our instincts are often our best guide. If something feels wrong, don't ignore that feeling.
Absolutely. Now, remembering that Machiavellians thrive in unpredictable environments, we need to consider how to navigate those situations where their moves are hard to predict.
That's a great point. The book mentions that chaos is almost like their playground, but it doesn't really offer a clear strategy for dealing with that level of unpredictability.
Right.
So if we can't predict their moves,
Right.
what's the best approach? Is it even possible to win against someone who thrives on chaos?
That's a really thought-provoking question. While the book doesn't offer a specific solution, I think the key lies in a combination of awareness, self-preservation, and strategic detachment.
Okay.
It's about understanding their game without getting sucked into it.
Okay, I like that. So awareness is about recognizing the Machiavellian for who they are, right? A master manipulator who's always playing the long game. It's about understanding their tactics, their motivations, their desire for power.
Precisely, knowledge is power in this case.
Right.
The more you understand their playbook, the better equipped you are to anticipate their moves.
Got it. And self-preservation, that's about setting boundaries, right? Protecting your own well-being and not letting their manipulations compromise your values or your sense of self.
Exactly. It's about knowing your limits and not being afraid to walk away from a situation that's detrimental to your well-being. You don't have to play their game if it's not serving you.
And strategic detachment, what's that entail?
It's about refusing to engage with their emotional manipulations, don't get sucked into their drama, or let their moods dictate your own. Maintain a healthy emotional distance, and remember their actions are a reflection of them, not you.
So it's like observing them from a safe distance, almost like watching a play unfold. You can appreciate the performance without getting emotionally invested in the drama.
Precisely. And I think this combination of awareness, self-preservation, and strategic detachment is crucial for not just surviving, but thriving in a world where Machiavellian power players exist. It's about being a savvy player in the game of life, recognizing the manipulators, understanding their tactics, and ultimately choosing to play by your own rules.
Well, that's our deep dive into the world of Machiavellian power players. We've uncovered their tactics, explored the psychology behind their manipulations, and most importantly, learned how to protect ourselves from their influence.
Remember, awareness is the first line of defense.
Yes.
Once you start recognizing these manipulative tactics, they lose their power.
And knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
The more you understand about the darker aspects of human behavior, the better equipped you are to navigate the complexities of the world and achieve your goals without falling prey to manipulation. So stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Until next time.